Welcome to another episode of the Virginia Investor Podcast. Today's guest is proof that success rarely takes a straight path. Today's guest was a DJ for over 5,000 events, worked with all kinds of awesome big names, awesome events, and then now is one of the top producing realtors in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia after just a few years of being in the industry. Julian Rivera has built his career on relationships, focused on leadership, and betting on himself. Today, we'll unpack his mindset, his strategies, the lessons behind that journey, and why getting in the right rooms might just change your life. Julian, I'm excited. You have a crazy story. I'm excited to get into it and learn a lot more about it. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
I appreciate you having me tune in this way. Typically I like to be in person, and I know you do too. But this, in the world that we're in right now, this is the next best option. But I'm super stoked to jump into all of this, and I appreciate you having me on the show, man.
Yeah, that's right, man. This is what the either first or second episode we've done virtual, but to me, the story is what matters. As long as we can make it happen and get your story out there to my audience, I know they're going to be able to benefit from it. You've done a lot of cool stuff, and I want to learn more about you. So let's get started at the beginning. Where were you born? Where were you raised? Where'd you grow up?
So I typically tell everyone that I was born in Virginia Beach because I was here pretty much my whole life. I was actually born in New York in Manhattan, but I came here when I was 2 years old. My uncle was a Marine. My mom wanted to follow him, and same with their mom. So they came down here when I was 2 and I never left. So right off First Colonial Road in Virginia Beach, that's where I've been pretty much less than 10 minutes from the beach my entire life. So that's where I'm from, but I'm really from, here, the 757. That's what we call it.
That's awesome, man. When you growing up as a kid on the beach, were you surfing and doing all kinds of beach activities, or was it more just regular sports, kind of normal life? Do you spend a ton of time on the beach?
One thing that we'll get into a little bit later, I'm a really big chameleon. In our area, we have such a big, diverse audience, and it's only grown since I've been here since '85. And seeing that super dope. And it's not just from a typical nationality perspective, it's from everything, because we have it all down here. So I actually grew up being a skater. You can see my wall. I love skating. Yeah. That was my thing growing up. I tried surfing a few times. I definitely can surf. Hot weather sports are more my thing. I love action sports and a bunch of stuff along those lines. I'm a basketball guy. I'm a football guy. I'm a sports guy. But if we're talking about beach related activities, skating definitely was my number one, still to this day. And, I've taken over the EV skating too a little bit just to see if I like it. But my wife says wear a helmet. I don't like to do that, but I still get away with it sometimes. But skating, man, it's a big skating community here, big surfing community here, but it's a very diverse community because we get so many different walks of life down here that can bring other active sports. I never thought that I'd like pickleball, but guess what? I'm playing it now. You know what I'm saying?
Here we go. Yeah.
And not just be a Hampton Roads thing. I think that's a worldwide trend. But yeah, skating, dude. I've been skating my entire life, and now a lot of people skate from all walks of life.
Yeah, that's awesome. I might need to get on that pickleball game at some point. So many people are getting into it, and they're getting addicted to it, and everyone's talking about it. And I grew up in Central Virginia area, Richmond, surrounding counties, et cetera. And we obviously would go to Virginia Beach on vacation. And man, from 20 years ago to now, it's a completely different beast. The last time I went down there was the first time after a couple of years, and it was just completely different. It looked awesome. It looked like a great place to be.
We're growing drastically, and I help a lot from a city perspective as well. I sit on a few committees down here, with the city that I was voted into, and it's just cool to see where it came from, what it's been. I remember riding my bike to the beach. Now it's a clear road instead of having to go around a bunch of stuff. Right. But we do have one of the longest pleasure beaches in the entire country here, right here in Virginia Beach.
Yeah, that's sweet, man. When you were growing up, were you focused on getting good grades? Or were you focused on having fun? What kind of student were you?
I think a lot of us can relate in that scenario. I had A student mentality, but C student follow through. So I was doing that really, really well. However, I graduated a year early. I always like to tell people I used to be smart. So I was doing well. And my grandmother was a nurse. My mom is a nurse practitioner still to this day. They wanted me to follow suit. And I actually mentally thought I was going to become a doctor. I wasn't practicing like that in high school to go towards that. I just you know what? I'm going to start doing that. Definitely didn't happen. I got my doctorate in other areas of my life, not necessarily with a certificate, just my own validation saying I did it. Right. But No, that was never the play, man. I know I was in I had the best of both worlds. It was just my mother and my grandmother that raised me growing up. I had my uncle that was down here. He tried the best that he could, but I was in public school, and then I went to private school for a bit, and then I went back to public school. So I got to get the best of both worlds. I can say that now because I
Right.
gained a lot of good relationships from all of those sides. But yeah, I graduated a year early, and then that's like the only claim to fame I can say from being super smart outside of grit, work ethic, and everything else outside of that.
Right. I mean, I imagine as a kid changing schools, like going private, public, private, whatever, like that is not fun at the time, but you get to learn how to deal with all kinds of different people and
Right.
build relationships and mesh into different crowds because you got to do that as a kid. You got to learn how to survive, and make sure you have friends and you're not getting bullied. And like, if you're put in those different environments, you learn how to become those types of people and interact in those different environments, to kind of survive those worlds. And so, probably not fun at the time, but looking back, it probably gave you some tools for your tool belt. I would bet.
Oh, it filled up my whole box, bro. The whole
Yeah.
toolbox is filled in. To your point, going back, hindsight's 2020. I think it always is, no matter what you're looking at. But realistically, I looked through all the headaches, all the ups, downs, lefts and rights, and it was just super dope to know that that actually molded me to be able to have the grit for today.
Yeah.
And it just really did. But obviously in real time, you just want to be cool, you want to be accepted, you want to have fun and everything like that. But you learn, and as long as you take that as a lesson, not a loss, you're always going to win.
So you graduated early. Did you like going through high school where you're like, I'm going to go to college and focus on X, Y, Z, or was it just like, was college a thing you were told to do, or did you not go to college?
Oh, fun fact. I'll give you the story because I'm an open book. So graduated at 17. I was the second youngest in my class, and I decided to take a gap year. Genius, right? I recommend nobody ever do that. And
Just
then I was
kill the
gonna go to
momentum.
college. Right, exactly. So momentum is one of my main words I talk about all the time. So it killed my momentum, bro. And not even a year after high school, I ended up going to jail. I was in jail for a few months. Yeah, that was
Dang.
my college, and not prison, not like stuff like
Yeah.
that. I was locked up where people didn't pay child support and stuff like that. Nothing
Yeah.
too crazy, but I was 18 years old in jail for almost half a year, off some trespassing, breaking and entering, and like vandalism, like all misdemeanor crap. But the person wanted to drop the charges. But what happens when the Commonwealth takes over? They make an
Right.
example. That
Yeah,
happened to
for
me.
sure.
So I was
Yeah.
one of those people, and that was my college. That was me going to there and realize, you know what, this is not going to be me. I got out right before Christmas, and after that, I just started working and kicking ass, man. That was really my light bulb moment that I needed.
What was the decision to take the gap?
I was just being lazy, bro. To be fair, I didn't really have straight guidance. Let's just say this. Me being now, I'm a father of 5 children. I have 5 amazing children ranging from 5 years old to 22 years old. Being present in their life was non-negotiable for me. So I can go back and say if I had that in my life more consistently, I had my uncle and I love him, RIP. He tried his best, but that was it. It probably would have been a different outcome, at least from being laser focused on what's next. So that right there, I really focus a lot on that with my children to the best that I can. But now knowing back then, I didn't really have the straight guidance on how to go to the next step. I knew I could go to the local community college. I knew I could have went to ODU or maybe VCU or something like that. Probably VCU if I was going to go down the pharmaceutical route, which that was something that I was thinking. They had one of the best programs, but I just didn't really know the next steps to do that. And think about this. I graduated in '01. This is .com era. This is dial-up era. So we don't have the same access that we all have nowadays with everything that I can actually look it all up and kind of know the plays. So realistically, lack of guidance and then just being around the wrong room, being in the wrong room. And you'll see me reference that a lot because I was hanging out with a lot of the wrong people that I thought were right for me at the time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I think a lot of us have been there, whether we want to admit it or not. Like a lot of us, yeah, some of us, I'll say, have been there. I know I have. I mean, I've made terrible decisions back in the day. Fortunately, like never ended up in jail, but you still find yourself with the wrong crowds and making terrible decisions. And some people just get luckier than others to get away with it and learn from it without having to go to jail. But it seems like, crushing it, getting out a year early is awesome. But then you gave yourself all the time in the world. And like, I don't think it's good to have a bored 18-year-old with like no accountability, no responsibility, or 17-year-old, whatever age, but like, because you think you're an adult, you think you know everything about the world. You've done great getting through school how you did, and so now like you kind of know what's best. You can go do your thing, but you don't really have that purpose towards that next step or that accountability through school, teachers, mentors, family to some degree, and you find yourself in that scenario. So when you're in that scenario, it's obviously a wake-up call, which is great because it could have been way worse. You could have gotten away with whatever you did, which would have been worse, right? You could have gotten away with whatever you did, and then you do the next thing. And obviously you need a bigger thrill and a bigger risk. And maybe you hang out with the next level people because you're a cool dude and you did this one thing, you got away with it. And then you go down that path. But fortunately you kind of get the slap on your wrist and it's like, and it's like a wake up call for you. It seems like.
I mean, it opened up to the people that I don't want to be surrounded with. I want to be around other like-minded people. And to be fair, I knew I was in, a club or two back in high school. I played basketball throughout high school, not necessarily varsity, but just, city leagues and stuff along those lines. So I was still involved and I thoroughly enjoyed being in those certain rooms. I just thought I knew everything at the time. So
right.
I learned a lot of what I didn't know. And then when I got out, I ended up transitioning to my two passions, which was super dope. So I'm a DJ. If everybody doesn't know yet, I've always been a DJ since the core. Like I was that guy hanging out with the OGs, carrying the crates. You're old enough to remember vinyl. I don't know if you're young, your audience is super young. They might not remember that, but the OGs and us will remember that was a thing. We had to bring that. Before '08, vinyl was the main thing for DJs. You were either EDM DJ or a hip hop DJ. That was really the only styles back then. And then I would sneak into the clubs out here at a young age, not to go party. Like I was never really a partier. I wanted to watch them DJ. Like that's the only place you can actually see them actually work. It's not like a guitarist or a drummer performing down the street at their local community event. That was like underground at that case. Now it's way more commercialized, obviously. So I saw it. I loved it. They were all like 10 something years older than me. They were actually better role models than anyone else that I had, but they were going to make people dance and drink. So in theory, is that a better role model? But I was looking at it from the art. Like I grew up playing piano and guitar. I enjoyed that. It's the artisticness that comes out, the creativity that can just spew out in the moment is amazing to me still to this day. So I end up following the passion with that and then fashion. And that's really what helped me get out of that rut and go full steam ahead. I mean, that really, and it almost happened not even 90 days after getting out. I was already DJing before that, but I just what, I'm going all in. And that's really what started my whole journey.
Yeah, so you weren't thinking necessarily like get out, go to college, like maybe it crossed your mind, but you pretty much were like, let's get out and do what I want to do. Like once you settled, once you got out and kind of like cleared your head a little bit, probably from what just happened, you knew DJing was it. Like that was always your passion. You want to go make a living out of it, I guess, because walk me through like, why did you think you could make a living out of that when most people, at that time, the saying is get a job. Like don't do anything creative. Don't follow your passion. You need to go to college or a community college. You need to get a degree and you need to get a job. Why did you think you could go like learn that and actually do that for a living?
Well, the funny thing is I actually try to do all of that at once. So a lot of us try to do more than one thing at once, be a jack of all trades, master of none. But DJing was already there. I had the equipment. I just said I'm going to go all in. However, I never did just DJ. So the fashion, back when malls were cool, I got a job working in a clothing store back in the days called Demo. It was a division of PacSun. PacSun is still a big business nowadays. So I started working there just to have a job. And then I started DJing at the same time on the side. Okay. While I signed up to take a class or two at TCC, which is our local community college here, just because I wanted to get back in the swing of things. But then I started getting the taste of actually making money. I'm like, okay, wait. And it was more on the fashion side, not DJing yet. DJing was extremely part-time. The reason why I wanted to DJ, two things. I wanted to be on my local radio station, which I accomplished growing up. That was just one big thing. I was that guy always trying to call in and win a prize when you'd be on hold. And then I wanted to DJ in the mall. That was like one of my big things. And then as we continued to grow, I became store manager and then I became district manager. And then I started overseeing all these $1 million stores that DJing was it was still there once a week, maybe, give or take. But I ended up being almost 22, 23 years old, making six figures in the mid 2000s and in an industry that I thoroughly liked. And I'm like, that happened really quickly by just working. I was just working hard. So I put school on pause. There was no reason for me to do that because the district manager and the regional manager at that time, they took me along the ride with them because they just knew I'd show up and I'd work. And I had fashion sense and I was good at inbound sales at the time. We talk about sales a lot now, right? We're in outbound. We eat what we kill, but we're in the mall. They're coming into you. How can you make them their best friend for the next 15 minutes? So that's something that was fairly simple for me at the time. I liked the shoes. I liked the clothes. It was easy. So I did that, but I was able to inspire other people to start doing it. We started month over month breaking store records. It's a national chain we're talking about. Then they moved on to the next store. They brought me along as store manager. Moved on to the next store, brought me to the store manager. By the time I was 20, 23, 24, they had an opportunity, both for the regional and the DM at the time, to go to New York. This was actually probably one of my 3 biggest turning points in my life, that only if I did this, we have a lot of those. And that one, they had an opportunity to go work for Jimmy Choo, which is a huge luxury fashion line still to this day. And they wanted me to come with them in New York. And at the time, I ended up having 2 children. At 20 and 21, I had my sons, Julian and Jadell. I was, like I said in the beginning, I want to be a very present father. That was something that I always wanted to do. Me going back to where my family took me from New York, might not have been the best option. So I decided to stay here, and I took over the DM position for a while. And then I just went all in on that one and was rocking for a little while. So I decided to go all in on something, and little did I know that it was going to be something that really I needed at the time. It fed a passion that I enjoyed, and it fed my family at the same time.
Dude, that's awesome. That's a great setup, because it provided you capital, doing something you loved. It provided all kinds of lessons in like a more business, more corporate world, but still something that you like. But there's some structure there. There's some like accountability. There's some measurements of success there that you probably can really learn and benefit from. And you still got to DJ on the side, like when you want it. So you're making good money. You're doing something you really enjoy. You're getting promoted within that. That's awesome. Now, you say it's just through hard work. I understand that. I understand it takes a tremendous amount of work. But there's plenty of people that work hard and don't have that same result. What other traits do you think helped you become successful in that fashion world, like in that where they were trying to take you with them to New York?
I think because it was so natural for me. It was natural for me to just show up and work, but it was really being in the right rooms at the right time. Let's just say this out loud. And I talk about this a lot on our podcast called Your Peak Life Podcast. One of people's superpowers that they don't really realize that they need to have is likability. A likability factor is huge if you're trying to make it in any environment. It doesn't mean everyone has to like you. It just means the right people need to like you. But if they're like you, that means they like everything that you're bringing to the table. The value, you showing up, how you look, how you present yourself, how you close, there's everything encompassed into one big likability ball. So I had a likability factor, and I feel I still do to this day, but it's natural to me. Like, I'm not trying to sell anything. I never have. I feel like I always try to provide a solution. So that was an amazing opportunity that they were giving me. They gave it to me multiple times because we moved 3 stores here locally to one company, and it was always bigger, bigger, bigger. And mind you, this is in the mid 2000s, bro. This is peak mall life. You know what I'm saying? This is before Amazon and social media. MySpace might have just started popping out at this point. Right. So it was just great. It was a great experience. But what was allowing me to get this exposure is that people knew that I was DJing too. And this is back in vinyl days still. Mm-hmm. So showing up and being in the right room was the right thing, but I just had to keep showing up to the right people consistently. However, there was one other big curveball that happened. When they did leave and they went off to New York, this is where my past creeped up on myself. So a new DM came. It was a nationwide, and he was super cool, by the way. Like, I love that guy to this day. A nationwide mandate that they tried to do on everybody. Instead of, when you fill out an application back in the day, they'd say, hey, do you have any felonies? And then someone would say, do you have any felonies or misdemeanors? And I'm like, damn, dude, they're asking for everything. Well, they changed it to felonies and misdemeanors. Mind you, I have 0 felonies to this day. I had misdemeanors. And then when they did that, they did a background check corporate-wide across the entire country. They had to let me go. And
that's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, right? But the fun fact is I left one big thing out. This was actually, I can't just do one thing. That's one thing that has never been in my life. So I ended up working part-time as a job while being a DM at the Funny Bone Comedy Club down here. They're the sister company. There's one up there in Short Pump next to where you're at. And then there's one down here in Town Center, Virginia Beach. They're the sister company of the Improv, huge company in the entire country. And I started working there less than a year before this happened. But it's because I needed to get my foot in there as a DJ somewhere, like consistently, because I still was feeding that passion day in and day out. But it was a very unique way to get in there. And it was one of my boys that I've known for a while. He's like, hey, man, this is open. They're probably going to need somebody in a few months. If you want to come on part-time, I got you. I'm like, yeah, let me know. And it's not like I'm DJing spinning. Like, I'm just there. I don't know what I was going to do, to be fair. So then when that happened, that was my signal. Oh, it's time to go all in, bro. Like, what are you doing? You don't really have a choice. In real time, that's not what it looked like. I was doing fairly well, especially in the early 2000s and I was enjoying myself, but it was 70, 80, 90 hour weeks. You're there on Black Fridays, you're there on Christmas, just think about the holidays and the malls back in the day. So that happened and I ended up pivoting, going all in. So I was working 6 to 9 shows a week. And then I started going out there and being in the local clubs and local bars and trying to get in the corporate scene for pretty much the latter part of my 20s. And it was a grind, bro, but I enjoyed every minute of it because now it started to be fun because now it was technically part-time work until I became the manager, but I was still technically part-time there. But I did that for so long because every week, man, I started to work with all these different celebrities that were coming in there. And eventually, not like very quickly, I started being the marketing director for the company, aka I had to be the liaison for every comic that came to town because I had a nice truck. I bought a nice Cadillac Escalade back then. I had the nicest truck because I was working corporate. I had a good truck. That was what I wanted, but I'm not part-time over here. No one else had a nice truck. It's like, hey man, instead of me paying this limo driver company, why don't I pay you $100 a week and you can just take them to radio on Thursday and Friday? I'm like, okay. You're telling me
awesome.
Go pick up like Chelsea Handler and drive around for 2 days, or go get Kevin Hart? And I'm like, yeah, I'll say that. Right place, right time, right car. But it also was an eye-opening experience that not only did I get to work hand in hand with these celebrities, I got to meet every entertainment avenue in the area that I always wanted to get in the door. That they would just not let me in the door just because I'm Julian. But I got in the door because I had somebody else that had a bigger name than me, that actually had a name. But then I also got to show them, like, if certain people came to town, I can take them out to the nightclubs, or I can take them out to these dining experiences or whatever. I was literally the liaison when they wanted to come to town. So I got in all the radio stations. I got in all the TV stations. Back then, there was a few newspapers that would do in-person interviews. And I did that for a long time. I did that for years and years and years. And it was super, super dope. Everyone from A-plus celebrities down to the guys just trying to make it. Like Tom Segura. You know who Tom Segura is. He's huge now. I remember he was just trying, like he was just clawing to try to get stage time, and he's killing it. Same with Joe Coy. This is Chelsea Handler before she even had the Chelsea Lately show. Like all this stuff before Kevin Hart was selling out arenas, 7 like back-to-back sold out shows. He was selling out these. It's super dope to see all of that, but it's cool to see the people that were really, really hungry. Now they're making it because it takes a minute in entertainment. It takes a lot of consistency. So that was a huge another pivoting moment in my life that I didn't really have a choice. It's like, what am I going to do? Just give up and cry? Or I had another option, you know, and I wanted to always go all in, but this kind of was forced for me to go all in that DJ world.
Yeah, it's freaking ridiculous that someone, now I understand on the initial application process, if they don't know you and they don't know your work ethic and what you've contributed to the company, I understand that. But like to have someone who's in their family, like, well, on their team, I don't really like using the word family for business, but like someone who is there and has contributed constantly and consistently, reliable and moving up the ladder, and then use something that's happened in the years past to remove them from that is absolutely insane.
At 18 years old, mind you, just to be clear.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, dude.
And there's no patterns. Like I get it if there's patterns, or if you're like in the same industry, in the same position that could do the same thing, maybe, but like, yeah, that's absurd. But that also kind of goes to tell you that like sometimes absurd things happen that are like miracles that move you on in your life, that get you in a completely different space. And you can't really understand why someone would do such a ridiculous thing, but it happened. And now that changed the trajectory of your life. So like, it's so wild how stuff like that works, but it also takes you to, as a person, to like you said, not give up, not feel sorry for yourself, like just continue to make moves and create opportunities, which it sounds like exactly is what you do. I mean, you had like overlapping opportunities that continue to get you closer and closer and closer to ultimately what you wanted to do as a DJ, which is incredible. Like that's awesome.
It's ironic too, because I did that for a while. For years and years and years, but I'm going to radio stations every week. I'm doing all of that. But then the next segue came like very late 20s, that I had opportunity to either go left or right when it came down to radio stations. 2 legacy stations that I always wanted to be a part of, to be fair. And I've been going there consistently for years now. So I know the marketing directors, GMs, I know them. They see me every week. Oh, you're hey, we want some tickets for the show or whatever. You know, it made sense to be able to get in the room and know that. So one was a hip hop station, which I've DJ'd on still to this day, and the other one was a more open format station. And I'm a guy that I love Green Day, I love Wu-Tang, I love Calvin Harris, I love Morgan Wallen. Like I love everything. That's my vibe anyway. That's really like Virginia Beach, though. If I really look at it that way, we have a little bit of everything. So I'm the kind of DJ that will put Morgan Wallen off of over a Warren G beat, and it's gonna sound dope, you know what I'm saying? Or like something along those lines. It's always been something that I like to be creative on in the open format world. So I decided to go to the open format station, which is Z104. Best choice I ever made, because that now I can say I actually made it, because I had opportunity to get in there as the marketing, like a marketing assistant. Shout out to my girl Jade. And not even 2-3 months later, I had part-time job on Z104 and then the sister station 94.9, which is the same, 2 different demographics but comparable music. Just one a little bit younger, one's a little bit older demographic. And that was the goal. I told myself I want to do that by 25. I made it before by 29. And I
Yeah,
got
that's awesome.
I got in the station by just showing up consistently every week, doing what I said I was going to do, taking care of people along the way to build that trust throughout those relationships. And when an opportunity presented itself due to that relationship, I was able to jump on it.
That's a perfect setup. I mean, like people can take that in so many different industries and use that same blueprint to like get where they want to go. When you were hanging out with some of these celebrities, even if it was like early in their career, midway, whatever, they're already famous, regardless, did you notice any consistent traits between them that make them some of the best in the world at what they do? Like, are they humble in real life outside of the cameras? Like, are they humble? Do they ask a lot of questions? Are they curious? Are they just constantly working hard? Like, what is their attitude like? Are there any consistent traits that you were able to pick up from that?
I'd probably say the biggest person I was ever blessed to work with more than once over the course of the years was Kevin Hart. That's still extremely relevant to this day. Yes, he is that height. He's definitely not that tall, but he had every time, at least then, he had the same team with him. He had the same opener, the same feature, and then he was the headliner. That's usually how they set it up. The opener's 10 minutes, feature 15 to 20, the headliner do an hour, right? Or longer, depending on whatever the contract states. That was the team. And then he had only two managers since before he blew up. And the only reason he had a second one is because the first one like did something wrong, like he was stealing from him or something early in his career. But other than that, he had the same team. So he stayed very consistent. And no matter what was happening, he didn't even think he was going to be a big actor. He just stayed super consistent, very, very humble, would answer the call. Like he didn't care who it was. And this was then, but he just knew. He put his head down and kept working ahead. He pivoted just like anybody has to do. When some new trends come out, he jumped on it and he did it. But he was just super dope to work with over and over again. I can say a lot of them actually were that way. Some of them might come off like as assholes, but it's because they have to have some sort of protection over them because people take advantage of them. They just want to get pictured. Like it gets annoying. Like it really, really does. But if you get to actually see with them, I'm driving, I'm just asking questions, go to breakfast and talk. That's thousands and thousands of dollars of FaceTime I'm getting with these people, and I'm getting paid $100 to go hang out with them.
Right.
And that happened for years. And that's the questions and the stories that I have, just kind of picking up the game. A lot of it's very consistent. Another one, Marlon Wayans. I worked with him and Sean multiple times, and Marlon was like, dude, just never give up, man. That's the one thing that most people do. It sounds super cliche.
Right.
But he's like, dude, just don't. Like, what do you want to be? Put a time frame on it and then work towards it. Watch, if you don't give up, watch what happens. You'll be closer. You might not get there, but you'll be closer. And I'll never get telling me that as like the last time I worked with him, because I'm like, dude, why are you coming back to the clubs when you've already made it? You know what I'm saying? Like you were here. Like, I don't think the club is below you at all, but from a monetization, from a financial aspect, I'm like, why? He's like, why not? I'm not leaving any money on the table because I'm leaving here tomorrow and going back to LA shooting a movie. I'm like, okay. But I had 5 days and we planned this 6 to 12 months in advance. If I have to cancel, I can cancel, but I'm not canceling the movie. So it's like you get to a position where they can control their time. And that's really what a lot of people, they get into business because they want to control their time. They think they can at least, but eventually you'll be able to control it more than being able to have to report to a 9 to 5.
Yeah, definitely. Like your time is being controlled the first 5 years in business. And then after that, assuming you're working hard and it's successful and you're scaling it, after that, you can control your time a lot more than you ever would working for someone else for 20, 30 years. But it's interesting. Like everyone says, never give up, don't quit. And it's become so cliche that when we hear it, it's just kind of like, yeah, that's what everyone says. But when you actually think of the action behind that, to continue momentum and not give up, like legitimately not give up in everything that we face. Like if you look back for anyone listening, it's easy to rationalize things and rationalize it in a way to where it's not quitting and not giving up. But like the reality is, and I think that's why we stopped doing a lot of things because we rationalize why it makes sense to step away from something.
Yep.
But you're giving up, you're quitting in some circumstances. I'm not talking about everything, but I would say if we're being honest with ourselves, there are many people who can look back and say, well, I was rationalizing, I gave up, I quit. It's such a cliche thing, but it's so powerful in the sense that like if you really take that to heart and understand what that is saying, and you look at the decisions that you have to make on a daily basis, did you get that work done? Did you make that phone call? Did you do this or did you do that? Or did you give up on that or did you quit? Did you complete this initiative or did you give up? And maybe you gave up on, you decided 100 different initiatives weren't really worth, that phone call wasn't going to go anywhere anyway. And then eventually like nothing comes out of it. And you're like, I didn't give up. It just wasn't successful. I don't know, man. Like it's for each person to look at their own journey and figure that out. But I think if we do take that to heart, there's a lot of meaning behind it that I think people just kind of look over.
Agreed, completely.
What about your kids? Like you have all this ambition and you want to do all this stuff. When you start having kids, did it change your goals and your mindset at all? About how much you wanted to work or how much, like what was success like? Were you happier at a lower bar of success? Meaning that like if you make $1 million a year and get to spend all the time with your kids, it's way better than making 10 million a year and not being able to spend any time with your kids. Like, did you start thinking like that, or were you still just like, I got to get after it. I'm going to keep getting after it 100 hours a week for forever.
So I had my first kid at 20 and I had my second kid at 21. I'm 42 right now. So I also have an 18-year-old daughter, 10-year-old daughter, and a 5-year-old son. So I like to say it was like dad 1.0, then dad 2.0. So when I was younger, I had my 3 kids in my 20s, and then I had my last 2 kids in my 30s. So I look at it from I was a kid raising a kid. Now I'm a grown man raising kids. So I understand they got to see a lot of me growing up. My 22-year-old serves in our United States Navy, and he says this to me a lot on how he just seen me grow from this and this, and he's proud of me. That right Sweet. There. I mean, I can cry anytime I hear him say that, and I know he means it. And my second son, Jadel, same thing, but he's an entrepreneur. He actually is flipping shoes. He worked construction when he got out of school. He didn't want to go to college. He's like, I'm going to start working. I understand how to do everything inside of a house now. He flipped his first house, bought his first house this year, and he just literally did a dual city road trip to Detroit and Atlanta and here to go to sneaker cons and resell shoes, and came back here on his own. Like, I don't have to tell him. He's the one guy that I know if I dropped him off anywhere, he don't figure it out because he has a chip in his shoulder to prove that he's going to make it. And I love that. I think we all need to have that chip. And then my daughter's just graduating. She has a lot of options right now. She just needs to make a decision. And then the thing is, now knowing what I know, the younger kids are going to have a different experience just because they're having a different version of me, because all 5 of them drive me equally. The one thing that I never wanted to do was not be present. And earlier in my beginning of my fatherhood career, it was I just want to make sure that I was never broke. So they would never have to worry about anything. So I want to be a provider. I still want to be that provider. Luckily, I can say that I won't be that the B word either anymore. But now I want to be the P word, a little bit more present. Now, it's harder, though, because more money, more problems. Biggie said it the best. But because the more that you start scaling, especially in business, the more your time is going to be taken in many different ways. Now, how can you control it? And how can you try to make it the best? You got to delegate, hire assistants, staff, etc. And then hopefully you can teach them the same tips and tricks that's going to help you. But nothing's ever going to be perfect. I feel that work-life balance is almost a fib of people's imaginations. It's definitely a goal to try to reach after, but once you have that balance, it's something to pivot. It's just what it has to be. So it still motivates me. I'm still putting in the time, but now I do have where we're at in a career. I do have all those delegatable things. I'm able to sit here with you now and talk, which is super awesome. While I know everyone else in the team is still rocking and rolling.
Yeah, and just like you said about the celebrities, like they might have to come across as jerks every now and then to protect themselves and protect their time. It was just recent in the past year or two, I had to start saying no to meetings, which felt really weird. Yeah, if people want to grab coffee with me, for me to say no to that, I felt like the biggest freaking jerk in the world because I'm like, who am I to say, like, I would love to meet this person, but it didn't make sense versus like the time I need to spend with my family, the time I need to spend on my business. And I'd be like, hey, maybe we can cross paths some other time, but I'm trying to protect my calendar right now. And so whether that makes me a jerk or not, it's one thing I've started doing is really protecting my time as much as possible.
I mean, you want to be valuable, not available, right? That's just what it is. And unfortunately, that comes with time constraints. That comes with different ways. And it can be a childhood friend or it could be anybody. At the end of the day, you have to live by the calendar. And people in our position, you have no choice.
Right. So real estate, man, like you're getting into DJs, you're doing 5,000 plus events, you're doing all this stuff you've ever wanted to do. You're crushing it. 2020 comes and you get into real estate. Where did that come from?
It's funny. Most of this podcast has been all talking about the entertainment and the journey and DJ. And they're like, where the hell's the real estate at? Like, I thought this guy was in real estate. So it happens a lot when I'm talking because it's just, I think I have a very unique path on how I got here. So
for sure.
I bought my first house in 2016 and I had to make a pivot. So I was an on-air DJ. I was leading the marketing team with my counterpart at the time. And life was good, man. I had 27 venues that I was booking. I had about 50 DJs I had access to. We were doing anywhere from 10 to 15 events a weekend, excuse me. And that can be from your local bar to your corporate party that needs all the audio visual lighting that you would need and everything in between. And that was extremely consistent. And that was on top of me working as a personality and in the marketing side. So I was actually starting to make more money than my 9 to 5. And year over year, it was starting to grow. And it was all from organic. And it came from me just not being able to accept so many gigs because I can only be so many places. I just kept giving them to people. And I'm like, wait, this is a business. What am I doing here? So then I launched my company, Exclusive Entertainment, early 2000 teens. Did that hand in hand for a while, but one thing that I wasn't doing well was keeping track of my money when it comes down to from a tax obligation perspective. AKA, I wanted to buy a house, but on paper it didn't look like I made money, even though I was making money. You know what I'm saying? Not back when I was like in fashion, it was all had to be their W-2. We were in control of our money, at that time, and I wasn't thinking that. We, my wife Myra, who I love to this day, we've been together for 16 years. She was pregnant with our daughter Mia. I'm like, all right, it's time to get a house. So I ended up a year before we found out she was pregnant, I did the next best thing that I could have did for my career. So in any entertainment space, you have the marketing side, you have the programming side where the personalities are, then you have sales. There's no business without sales, right? So this whole side was always like, oh, it's a black hole, don't go over there. I'm like, I work with them already. Like I literally have to execute every kind of campaign they come up with in the marketing side, but they make way more money. Like, what am I doing? My late mentor, Tim Mayer, he was one of the GSMs at the time. He tried to recruit me for a year. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm good. I'm like killing it over here. He's like, I think this might be really good for you. Best decision I ever made was to say yes to him. And I went over there and I killed it. I killed it because I already knew the system. But that was my college, just to be clear. That they put me through so much learning, so much education because I only knew inbound sales at the time. I didn't know outbound. That's the one thing I didn't really know that I had the skill on. So I went through that. You have traditional radio, digital, and then events. I killed it in the digital and event space because that's what I was already doing. And that's when Facebook ads were just starting. This is where monetization wasn't even a real thing yet. So I just knew I was brilliant at the basics. So I kept doing that year over year over year. And then 2016, I was able to buy our first house. That same year, I won an award. We went to the Hot Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for I think I forgot what the award was for, to be fair. It was definitely one of the top senior account executives awards. It was myself and 2 other people that went. It was all the big AEs from across the country, from New York, Miami, LA, everyone. We're sitting in this room, and I lie to you not, Steven, I was the youngest in the room by far. Like, by far. I'm like, yo, this is not the right room I want to be in. I can see the beginning of the end from a traditional media standpoint. Right. Definitely still here, but I'm like, this digital world is starting to take off, and I think people just have blinders on. So I came up with a plan, like I need to start opening more businesses outside of my entertainment space because when you're a senior account executive, all I'm doing is helping other businesses advertise themselves through the brands and avenues that we have, whether it's radio, digital marketing, or events. And they killed it. They still kill it to this day here in the local market, but I was good at it. But I met a lot of people that own businesses. And the only difference between them and myself was one thing. They went all in on themselves. They burned the boats and they just went all in. So okay, so I need to find something I want to burn all the boats for, but I need to buy a house first. So I bought the house, and then another light bulb moment from a real estate perspective was like, damn, the house that we bought, it was a great house. We still own it to this day. It wasn't big enough because now Myra was pregnant, and I had my 3 older kids. I'm like, nope, we need a bigger house. Then we bought a second house in 2016. That's where my mind was like, yo, this entire time, I thought I wasn't in a position where I can buy a house, and I was able to buy 2 houses in less than 12 months. I need to start looking more into real estate. At the time, I had 2 clients. One was a big dog in the area at the time, and one is one of my best friends to this day, Mr. Eli Miller at Compass Real Estate Solutions. We came up with a plan over the course of the next 24 months. This was around 2018 at the time. 2017 at the time, that I was going to bow out, go be a realtor, and something else, helping with marketing. I was supposed to leave in 2019. I decided to stay for 1 more year. Something was telling me just to stay 1 more year. And that 1 more year is where I realized that I had a better plan that still involved real estate. So then I retired from corporate America on January 31st, 2020. And the plan was to still be a realtor, was to help him run his team, and to help marketing for the 2 other businesses he owned at the time. Then I quit my job, good to go. And then a month later, what happened? COVID. What the hell was I thinking? I can't believe I just did that. I just left my 9 to 5. I was there forever. They know me, blah, blah, blah. Little did I know that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, bro.
Because wouldn't everything in the event space and venue space like shut down, right? And so that would have been a terrible place to be.
Everything did. And the number one thing that people cut out of their budget when life happens is their marketing budget. That's typically what it is, because they need to make sure they're paying their employees and still being able to service their current clientele. They don't need to attract new. They need to stay afloat. So that's I don't care what company it is. Well, most companies that they would need to do that. I'll say 90% of the companies. So at the time, that just gave me a lot more time to pivot, because I put a lot of energy and stuff, and a lot of people just chilled and then just got back to doing the exact same thing. I already had the plan to do real estate.
Right.
I was only going to do like maybe a house a month, help him run his team. Then my company was doing very well. Still those numbers that I shared earlier, we were rocking. And I'm like, it'll turn back on in a few months. Well, we're good to go. A few months turned into a little bit longer. A few months turned into we're only the DJ outside. We can only do, it's just crazy. It changed everything.
Right.
Little did I know that real estate would change my life, because I said I was going to do it and I ended up doing it. So in 2020, I finally got my license. It took forever to get my license because D4 was shut down. The PSI centers were shut down. I had to drive to Northern Virginia to take a test, and I failed by 1 point. I was so mad at myself. And then that was a long 4-hour drive back. And then luckily a spot the next day. And then I passed. But I ended up getting licensed at the end of that year. I sold 2 houses at the end of that year. And then my first full year was 2021. I took home Rookie of the Year in the entire Hampton Roads area. I took home the Gold Award 2022. I took home Platinum 23, 24, 25. I took home Diamond, and I'm already at Diamond this year.
Yeah, you've done in your notes like over $150 million worth of transactions, worked with over 500 families. What in the world? Like, obviously you have the personality for sales. You've been in front of like tons of social settings and social events so you can talk to people and build relationships. But like, how in the world did you get that well networked and that well liked to do that many transactions in such a short period of time?
You know, the ironic thing is that Eli used to always tell me, your network is way deeper than you're giving yourself credit for. You need to start tapping into that. And like most agents, you start in there, you hope that you can sign on with somebody that has a lead service and you can just show that you can work leads. That's what I did. Full transparency. I was 100% leads for that first 12 to 18 months. And then it just started shifting. And I'm like, oh wait, because now I was already really good at social media. That's the thing is I was already bringing brilliant at the basics, nothing crazy advanced. But I was just consistent on that ever since. Like when I see the memories pop up from like 15 years ago, 16 years ago, I'm like, dang, I posted like that. That was crazy, but I was doing it. And I just took it by the horns and kept rocking and rolling. And I maxed out every platform that I could just to have the audience. And I just start DMing people. I just start messaging people. I just start doing what I would already do to try to get a gig before in the DJing world. And I just married that into the real estate world. So then that's when the leads were still coming in, but I started getting more SOI. I started doing that. Now I'm a firm believer that if anybody's in business, I know there's people that are 100% SOI. Some people like a ratio of leads this. I feel the perfect ratio for any realtor or real estate agent in today's day and age is 80% SOI, 20% leads. Because I might know a lot of people, but I don't know everybody, especially when we're in such a transient market like we are in Hampton Roads. We gain and lose about 250,000 people every year just because of the military. Yeah. So now if we can start doing that, then you start scaling. And I was scaling very quickly with his tutelage and him helping me. But then I started helping him run the team a little bit more. Then I started helping do a lot more of the events, and I started helping do just more because I wanted to. But dude, it was a lot at once. You got to think this though. In the beginning, I was very, very heavy buyer's agent. And this is in COVID when there's 10 to 15 offers on every damn house. Mm-hmm. And I took home Rookie of the Year, and then I took home Platinum the next year. And then that stuff started like balancing out after that. People are like, oh, you were in COVID, everything was happening to you. No, if you were a listing agent, everything was coming to you and it was cakewalk. If you were a buyer's agent, that was never the play.
Right.
You really had to be good at negotiating and figure things out, and also educating your clients on why. Right. And every client that worked with me then, I won't say every client, but a huge percentage, they're extremely happy now. But to get to the scale is just by being brilliant at the basics, being in the right rooms, and then the doors open back up for me to start DJing again. That helped out a lot because I scaled my company down drastically because I couldn't be in both places. Right. I just started focusing on quality over quantity at this point. So it helped me being in the position to know as many people as I did, but I didn't realize how many people in the local market trusted me already because I was already cultivating memories in a different space for years and years.
That's a really interesting point, and it sort of makes me reflect a little bit on my background. I was in the fitness industry here, running a local fitness operation. A few hundred people come out and work out and stuff, but I more or less like ran the operations of that company. So almost everyone in that fitness group, the membership, knew who I was. And my entire intention was like, help people reach their goals, get stronger, healthier, faster, happier, like be able to move, get rid of injuries, like just anything, bring families together, bring marriages together, like do all of this through fitness, right? And I was so driven and passionate and kind of still am, but like I get fired up about that stuff. But my entire job to grow that company, it wasn't even, I didn't even care about like, just naturally the company would grow if I just cared about people and did right by people. And then when I went into real estate, I was like, I know a few people in real estate, but what I didn't understand is that all of this tribe of people at this fitness program essentially were like, oh, Steven's doing that now. Let's get his back. Like, let's introduce him to this investor. Let's introduce him to that investor. That guy looked out for me for 5 years. He got me healthier, stronger, faster, happier, whatever. Like, doesn't care about himself. He cares about the team. He wants to help other people. Let's get people in front of him. And so like, it almost was like a cheat code. I mean, I worked for years and years and years to establish that reputation and those relationships. I mean, they mean the world to me. And for 10 years, I worked to establish those relationships and reputation. But when I went into real estate, people were just like, hey, reach out to this broker, reach out to this investor, reach out to this guy, reach out to this guy, get in front of this meetup group and that meetup group. And it was almost like people just said, hey, he's a good dude. Like, try to support him. And that is a lot. I mean, there's a lot more that goes into growing a business, but that was a good, I didn't realize like the network was so powerful when I went off to kind of do my own thing in my own business.
That's true. That's true. The power of being in the right rooms, and you never know who's watching and who always watch to have your back too. And that's huge. Yeah, I can say the same thing. I didn't realize how many people trusted me in that world. And I've always tried to put people before myself. I mean, I still to this day, very selfless. There's times where you have to be a little selfish so you can grow your business with your time. But other than that, it's one of the things, people first, man. People. I always have a statement. If they win, I win by default. But they got to win first.
For sure. Yeah, 100%.
I can't look at my pockets. I can't look at any of that. Like, they have to win. If we're looking at alphabet, I don't get the Z without going through A through Y. And that happens all before that Z. So when I'm teaching the agents or teaching the team, we're trying to motivate the team. Remember, it's need before greed. You have to focus on everyone's like needs first, dude. We're in a service industry. I don't care if it's DJing, fitness, real estate. We're in a service industry. Serve your client, and then they will serve you, hopefully with the biggest compliment with a referral.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Like you talk, clients need to win first. In my position, clients certainly need to win first. But when I talk to my team internally, I'm like, the team has to win first. As a leader of a team, the team has to win before I win for this company to be successful, right? And so, and if the team wins, it means the clients are winning, the tenants are winning. Like, there's so many other people that have to win before I can feel any of it. And it's interesting that you point that out, because I preach that all the time.
Yeah, dude.
What's the trick to making a good first impression?
In person or online or on the phone?
Anywhere.
I mean, just be you, man. That's such a cliche statement. The trick to making a good first impression is, typically people are going to know within the first 15 to 30 seconds if you're trying to sell them on something or not, or if you're going to be authentic. It's the way I'm talking to you is the same way I'm going to talk to anybody else. Right. I don't have an on switch or an off switch. I don't have a radio voice or not. Like, this is just who I am. I'm always this energetic anyway. So when somebody introduces them to me, I try to make them feel that they're actually, somebody, not just a transaction. So that relatability is huge. Likability, I talked about earlier. Relatability is another superpower. So when I meet somebody, let's just say it's a lead. I don't know them at all. So I'm off the phone with them, I just send them directly to my social media. I send them to everything so they can see who I am. I want them to do their own due diligence, because your online presence is the vice president of your first impression. And if people that don't know that, you need to know that. People are like, oh, should I have a business account, a personal account? If you have a personal account, you already have a business account. Clean that shit up. Excuse my language, but like, make it look how you want people to perceive you. Because what do you do when you try to buy something at a store? When you're going to look it up online? Like, look at us as a product. That's what people are going to do, or a service. You need to get pest control. You need to get property management. They're going to compare you. So that's the nature of the beast. So be authentically you, and you just win a little bit more than you lose, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, it's awesome when people like hit you up and they're like, "Hey, I've watched your podcast or watched this content or seen what your team has done," and they already know what your culture is and what your values are. And it's an awesome way to break the ice, where you could just go into having normal conversation at that point. You could skip a lot of steps at that point. But you have a creative division. I'm interested in learning more about that. Explain what that is.
Well, let me talk about the brokerage first. So then I'll tell you kind of where we graduated. So currently, I'm blessed to say I'm one of the owners of Iron Valley Real Estate Norfolk. So Iron Valley is one of the monsters down here in the area. We have 5 locations, about 450 agents, and last year we broke over $1 billion in volume, which is super, super awesome, and blessed to say it's not just me. I can't do any of this without my team. I'm one of the bigger faces out there, but there's a lot of people behind the scenes that work, and I'm just happy to say that I can go and spread the word. So outside of myself, we have LJ Hunt, who's our principal broker at Iron Valley Norfolk. And then we have Stephen Doe, who's also one of our other partners. Our managing broker is now Davina Hughes at Iron Valley Norfolk. And then when we talk about Iron Valley Newport News, Hampton Roads, Chesapeake, Prestige, we have Edgar Munoz, we got Edwin Rodriguez, we got Eric Edwards, my man Mike Little, and then Jama Bosch. That's the squad. Those are the ones that are from a leadership standpoint. Thomas Seddon's one of our managing brokers. Carrie O'Binks, one of our managing brokers. So we have an amazing team. We have our director of operations, Lori and Sarah. So they're all over the place. That's just from the brokerage level of what we have here. Okay. So that launched here in 2020, and we scaled to where we're at since 2020. I came over in late 23 to help grow the company, and that was the next part of me growing not just my brand, but I wanted to be an owner of something big. So then with that, just like when you open a business, you're going to find holes, right? You need to try to see if we can fill the holes and see how we can fill things out. Like we had a property management division hole that we had to figure out. We filled it out. We had a commercial division hole we need to figure out. We figured it out. We've had, many other things that we got to figure out. Now, there was one that everybody is a wantra investor, right? Everybody wants a flipper, a wantra sub-tour, a wantra landlord. Everyone wants to do it, but not many people do it. So I want to say about 18 months ago, well, everyone was already coming to me about that, but 18 months ago, I had a serious conversation with LJ. I'm like, man, I need to just start getting a little bit more heavier into the creative world because we're already doing it, but I know everyone else wants to do it. I don't want them having to branch out everywhere and getting lost in the sauce with whatever outside of them doing their own due diligence on YouTube or whatever. So I launched a creative vision really end of last year, early this year, just to help people when it comes down to flips, buying, getting creative financing, etc. Because let's be real, in real estate, most people think of black and white, traditional buy and sell. But there's a lot of people, especially nowadays, where foreclosures on the rise, with short sales on the rise, and the elderly is unfortunately rising, and they're leaving inheritances behind with people or houses that people don't even want because they live in Sacramento and they're never coming back or whatever. There's so many other plays that sometimes traditional financing and traditional real estate is not going to work, and most agents just walk away from that. So the goal is now that we have a plug and play system here that people can understand. Look, you have a non-traditional sale or purchase, come talk to us first, because there's a way that we can probably figure this out for you. And you can win on both sides, but more importantly, the client's still going to win and not feel defeated because you can't help them based on your current knowledge.
That's sweet. And I really appreciate that because there's so many, we have tremendous realtors and brokers in Central Virginia. Ton are super knowledgeable, but a lot of them will come to us and ask us for help when they work with certain investors and need to make a certain deal happen because we know more of the creative side of things and we deal with 100% investors, right?
Yep.
But you have seen that need, embedded that into your team, and now you'll have the knowledge, the experience, and the resources like lenders and stuff like that to hook these people up with to be able to get a deal done, which is really helpful, especially if the retail / conventional market shifts.
Correct.
You have a diverse, now group of people that you can work with and still support and keep that business going.
It was almost another light bulb moment too. Back in 2016 when I wanted to buy my first house, it comes down to a place where I wanted to start flipping. I wanted to start owning doors, and I wanted to practice what I preach. That's like saying I'm a DJ but only playing on iTunes.
Right.
When I practice what I preach, I need to do what I do and actually practice it behind the scenes. So I'm blessed to say that we scaled myself. I'm a little over 30 doors now from an investment portfolio.
Sweet.
Currently have about 11 flips going on right now and about another probably 6 or 7 under contract from a creative play to try to help not just myself but other agents. And then we get a funnel of them coming in. We have a lot of agents, man, but that's a lot of people we get to help themselves at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And especially you got to do so many things you're passionate about. Now you're in real estate, growing passion there. You get to help people build a big team, lead a team, and now on the financial side, supporting your family, you're starting to build those assets or well into building those assets to really build that generational wealth for your kids and things like that, man. That's how is your leadership? Like, a lot of people are really good hustlers and they know what business moves to make, but that doesn't necessarily make them good leaders. You're leading some big teams and you're a part of a lot. And it shows your trajectory in former careers, I would say, have put you in leadership positions. How do you feel about leadership, and how has that changed over the course of the last 20 years?
I'm my style isn't everyone's style, and that's why we have multiple owners in the company, because not everyone will resonate with me. Most do, but not everyone will.
Right.
That'd be extremely egotistical of me to think I can relate with 100% of people.
Right.
But I am a personality agent. That's kind of what's on I know what my disc report is. I'm a high I with a very, very comparable D. I'm right here, but in the S and C, I'm here. Like I'm complete polar opposite, where LJ is extremely high on here and a little lower on this side. So when I bring anyone on my personal team, which is the exclusive real estate team, I have them do the disc assessment so I know how to speak with them. I also know everyone else is on my current team just from a psychological standpoint. I want to be able to communicate with them, and also, shout out to my late mentor, Tim Mayer, focus on their strengths and make them stronger. Yeah. I don't need to focus on your weaknesses to try to make them stronger, because that's why we have more people that we can delegate that to. So from a leadership standpoint, it's really trying to learn who that person is so we can make whatever they're really dope at even doper. Like that's really the goal here. But I'd be lying to say I'm like the perfect leader, but that's why we have more than one person here.
Right.
You know, LJ is meant to do this. LJ is a principal broker. He has his bachelor's degree from ODU in teaching. He loves teaching. That's his thing. I am the marketer. I'm great at going out. I'm great at doing this. I'm great at recruiting. Same with Stephen Doe. And Edwin is kind of the best of both worlds. Edgar is not in the, he can do it. He's my co-host most of the time on our podcast. He can recruit the hell out of it, but he is super supportive with every agent and makes time for all of them. Like he is just amazing in that. So there's so many pros and cons. And Eric, same thing. Mike, the same thing. Like there's just so many ways that people can benefit. So I always like to say, I'd rather have a bite of a big ass watermelon than try to eat the whole thing myself. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, it's such a great way to think. I mean, lots of nuggets in what you just said. One thing that took me a while to learn is like, everyone has strengths and weaknesses, including myself. But as a leader, you care so much about people. You see their strengths, you bring them on the team because of that. And then you see their weaknesses. And then you try to improve their weaknesses and correct their weaknesses. And that you might try for years to do that for someone, when you could have just been working on their strengths to help them become someone at a higher level or a better financial position or whatever, or closer to their goals, whatever that may be. But I am guilty of spending years trying to improve people's weaknesses to no avail. And it's a waste of time. It's frustrating, et cetera, when I could have gotten that person in the right seat for who they are and put them in a powerful position for what they're good at and let them run with it there instead of trying to make them someone they're not. So that's a really good point to make.
I mean, it's just I'm remixing it from other people that have kind of poured into me and stuff that we read and do it ourselves. I always use a lot of DJ acronyms because that's just me, but it's just remixing it to make it work for how I feel I want the delivery to be, so people can relate with what the vision is.
Right. So you're involved in a lot. You got a lot going on currently. So you got all the real estate stuff. What else are you doing? You're writing a book and there's a TV show. Let's talk about some of those other things that you're involved with.
Yeah, so I mean, outside of the Iron Valley, the brokerage, and then exclusive real estate, the team that we have, and then helping with the creative division, I still DJ all the time, bro. To be fair, I did take a good hiatus this summer on purpose, which is the first time I can say that, by the way, and not miss a beat. I was in the Philippines for almost a month. I came back about 2 weeks ago. I got the rest of the summer. I have 3 gigs, and I'm super blessed because I remember when it used to be 5 a week. You know, it used to be like that for a minimum 5 a week, and I don't need to do that anymore. I love it and I enjoy it, but I don't need to do that anymore, at least at the levels quality over quantity. So now I decided earlier this year I really want to get back a little bit to the hosting and DJ roots. So I started a TV show called The 7 Cities Unlocked. It's on the Real Shows Network. It's also on my YouTube page, where first episode's already out. Second episode's already been completed. I'm going to be doing anywhere from 3 to 4 4 episodes. And after that, we'll see what happens. I might continue it, or I might just have that series and call it a day. I love it so far. The first episode has dropped a few weeks ago. I'm getting really, really good local love on that part. And the whole goal is that I just want people to know a little bit more about our area. You know, there's only one segment on there with real estate. The other 4 parts are events, give back events, a little bit hyper focus on what each of our 7 cities is about. So that's what 7 Cities Unlocked really is, just hyper focusing on the Hampton Roads area so people can know that we have a lot of cool gems here. And then my book's called Get in the Room, Get Seen, Get Connected, Get Ahead. That's going to come out October 6th. August 6th is when the pre-sale starts on my website, djjulianrivera.com. That website will be live next week. And that one is really, it's a lot of, I'm teaching almost debate. I don't say the word teaching. I'm motivating people from just the power of showing up. Let's go to the fitness world for a second. 50% of the battle is going to the damn gym, right? And the other 50% is doing everything else you're supposed to. But most people won't get up and go. And that is like, just to be fair, that's one of the easiest things to do is just show up. But how are you going to get value from people if you're not showing up consistently? Like you're saying, you did it for 10 years before you got to a point where you're going to launch something and it was a little bit easier for you than probably most, but they're not seeing the 10 years of work that you put in before that. It's a lot of comparable, relatable stories in that scenario, some tips and tricks and how to do and what you get in the room. But get in the room is a motto I've been saying for years now. I just tell people to show up. And then when you're in the room, it's up to you on what to do, but showing up, you just got to do it. And I say that in a lot of different ways. I share some part of my story that you've heard here today, some a little bit more in depth. It won't be a novel. It's not like 300, 400, 500 pages. It's just something to get out there because I wanted to make sure that I had a little bit more marketability when it comes down to show the hometown and to show some value that I'm just a regular dude. And to be fair, I'm not Gary Vee level. I'm not even close to Gary Vee level and all these other huge multi like 9-figure millionaires, some billionaires, and they have the platforms and the money to monetize in that worldwide to do so. But there's a lot of these mid-tier level, which I feel that I'm at, let's just call it entrepreneurs, that can do the same thing, but it can be way more relatable because I don't have to live in a penthouse in New York. I can live in a dope crib that is a few $100,000s in my town and be able to own a ton of investment properties, travel when I want, and have an amazing team to help have my back. So that's real life if you really want to put it like that. And that can be in any industry. And that was just because I kept showing up and kept showing up and kept showing up. And most of the time, you're showing up for free. You're not showing up asking for something. Right. So the book comes out October 6th. I'm super stoked about it. I'll have another one coming out next year, and I think I might just be two and done. But I want to make sure I can I wanted to put a published author on that resume as well, too, because that's something I've been very, very passionate about for the past 2 years.
Dude, this is incredible, man. I'm glad we got a chance to speak and to hear. I know we could talk hours and hours and hours longer on your journey and some of the challenges you face and stuff, because the way you talk it's so confident in how you conquered this journey. But we know that, like, man, you fought for this. You fought for what you have and you earned every bit of it. And I respect that. I respect it a lot. I think it's sick that you're writing the book. I think it's awesome. I would love to get a copy. I'll look out for it when it comes out. And I look forward to seeing what you guys are doing. Outside of what we mentioned, is there anything else like in the next, let's say 2 or 3 years that you have on the horizon, or is it mostly just focused on what you just talked about?
I'll leave you with these nuggets, and you're in the same chapter I'm in now in the 40 Club. So I entered my 30s like a shotgun, seeing what's gonna work, doing this, seeing what's that's gonna work, while still having my base. Shotgun. I wanted to open a ton of other businesses, won some, low some. I mean, there's a lot more to the story.
Right.
But I entered my 40s like a sniper. Like, I know what I want to do now. I know what I want to do for this chapter. I call this my 5th chapter. 0 to 10 is your first chapter, 10 to 20 is your second, and so on and so forth. So you and I are in our 5th chapter in our lives. I look at it, this is sniper mode, bro. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm hyper focused. I have everything that I really would want right now, but I'm not complacent. Right. So because I'm not complacent, I want to keep going and focusing on what is going to bring me the most amount of happiness, joy, revenue, and be able to provide for so many other people in the area, because all of that is going to be the same bucket. I'm pouring into that bucket and trying to overflow it as much as I possibly can, because the value, once I provide that, it comes back tenfold. That's my primary focus, pretty much everything that I told you about. If someone's coming to me with a different business idea, if it's not anything to invest in real estate, owning a company that's in real estate related, or doing a high level gig that makes a lot more sense for who my brand is now, I appreciate you thinking of me. However, I will politely decline most likely, but it just depends. I like you said earlier, I can say no in a very nice way. No just stands for next opportunity, bro.
Yeah, for sure. And you have plenty of people in your network. You could hook them up and say, hey, go talk to this person and watch them be successful, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so, and that's the type of person you and your people are, is like, you're going to still support that person, connect them, but it just doesn't have to be you in that endeavor, which isn't it great to have that, to get to the point where you have that clarity? Like, you just have that clarity and you know what your focus is finally, after years and years of like just trying to figure it out and struggle. And we still don't have it all figured out. We're not where we want to be yet, but isn't it great to have those options and that clarity?
The biggest clarity was 2 years ago when I went to the Philippines for a month and everything was rocking and rolling. That was my light bulb moment. I was 40. And that clarity has now, with that clarity, every year has continued. I mean, every year's gotten better, but the past 2 years have been like leaps and bounds.
That's sweet.
Dude. I'm like, and I just did it again and everything went good. I'm like,
dude,
wow.
That's awesome.
I'm like, that clarity is when you're not present and the machine keeps rocking and rolling and you come back. I'm like, okay, cool. You guys are good. That I've never known that feeling, to be fair. And that's a new feeling to me, but it's very blessed to see that the hard work's paying off because I really want to be more present now with my family as much as I possibly can be while still being able to provide value to everything else.
That's sweet, man. What is the best way for people to find you?
So social media is the easiest one, at DJ Julian Rivera, pretty much everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I'm trying to get a little better on TikTok. Instagram and Facebook are my best ones. My personal page is the best one that I use. I barely use my DJ page anymore on my Facebook, but it's still there. IG is my number one social platform. New revamped website will be out next week, djjulianrivera.com. And that's really the best way to find me, bro. 7 Cities Unlocked. You can put that on YouTube. You'll find it underneath my DJ Julian Rivera page or the Real Shows Network. And the book will be out there too, but all the information is there. So the website's about a week out from being launched with revampedness. And just DJ Julian Rivera. I hate to say this, sounds extremely arrogant. You can just Google it and you'll find me.
What about your podcast?
The podcast, love it. Your Peak Life Podcast. Okay.
Sweet.
So that podcast, my man Edgar Munoz, and then Edwin, Mike, Eric, we all have all the owners. They started this before I came over, but then me and my radio background, it kind of just helped enhance it. We have a lot of, we started this focusing on real estate agents in the area to give them a platform to create content, people to learn their stories. It grew into a little bit more with brought on some celebrities and some other things that we've had there, but it's still hyper focused on just our agents and anybody that wants to be on it. They don't even have to be with our firm. So we have over 100 episodes on there now. Your Peak Life Podcast, that's on YouTube. We do have video and audio on Spotify and Apple Music, but that's the next other place that you can find me too, man. We got a lot of good content on there.
That's sweet, man. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
The final thoughts is I want to give you some credit, Steven. I know the show's been trying to be hyper-focused on me and you have an amazing audience. I need to give you kudos for continuously being diligent on pushing forward. You might feel like you haven't made it, but most people will think you have. And regardless of what they think, it still motivates you to keep going. You want to keep going, and you want to keep going by spreading the love in many different ways. This is great content. I've seen your podcast platform. You're growing this. I think over 60-something episodes. That's a lot of work, bro. That's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. So my final thought is keep going, because what you're doing right now is changing somebody's life that you don't even know or haven't even met yet.
Yeah, man, and all thanks to guests like you that add all the value. I'm just fortunate to sit in the seat and ask the questions and selfishly get to learn from people like you that have accomplished all this. So, man, I thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your journey and taking the time to speak with me. And I'll tell you, man, now that we've connected, I look forward to supporting and watching your journey over the next few years, man.
I appreciate it, Steven. Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it. To everyone out there, I appreciate you listening.
Take care, man. Thank you.
Later.